You ever notice how when things finally start looking up, there's always a catch hiding behind the curtain? Oh, they tell you good news, a new house is coming. They make it sound so shiny, so perfect, like a fresh deck of cards waiting to be dealt. But they don't tell you about the storms you'll have to walk through first. The winds that rip at your coat, the mud that clings to your boots, the people who smile with teeth sharpened like knives. No, they dress it up nice. Wrap it in pretty paper and a big red bow. They want you to believe it'll be handed to you, no sweat, no blood, no broken bones. First, they whisper promises into your ear. Oh, you're going to have it all. You're almost there, just a little longer, just a little more suffering, just a few more humiliations, a few more betrayals to swallow down like bitter pills with no water in sight. And you believe them, don't you? Because hope, my friend, is a dangerous game. It makes you see blue skies in the middle of a storm and taste victory in the middle of defeat. It's the glitter on a pile of garbage, the smile on a liar's lip, and yet you cling to it like a man drowning clings to driftwood, knowing it's rotting, knowing it's breaking apart. But what else is there to do except hope? You sit there telling yourself that chaos is just temporary, that the slaps to the face, the punches to the gut, the kicks when you're already down are just tests, tiny little fires to purify you, burn away the weakness, burn away the illusions. But each time you stand up, you find that another piece of you has been stripped away, and you wonder how much of you will be left when the storm is finally over, if the blessing even exists, if you haven't been conned into standing in the rain forever, waiting for a sunrise that never comes. Oh, but chaos is clever, it's seductive. It doesn't just tear you apart, no. It dresses itself up like opportunity. It pretends to be a door creaking open. It pretends to be a friend with a hand stretched out. Only when you reach for it, you find sharp claws instead of fingers, and a laugh that sounds just a little too loud, a little too cruel, echoing down the hallway of your broken dreams, mocking every step you dared to take in the dark, thinking light was just around the corner. And then comes the real fun. The mind games. The voices telling you maybe you deserve this. Maybe you're cursed. Maybe you're a fool. Maybe you should have given up a long time ago, but something inside you snarls back. Something inside you refuses to die, refuses to kneel. Something inside you says, fine, throw it all at me. Throw the knives, throw the stones. Strip me down to the bone if you must, because I'm not leaving this battlefield without a prize. I am not leaving without the crown that was promised, even if I have to crawl over shattered glass to get it. See, the chaos isn't there to defeat you, not really. No, it's there to reveal you, to strip away the parts of you that were too polite, too soft, too trusting, to rip off the masks you didn't even know you were wearing, to shatter the mirrors that were lying to you about who you really are. And when it's done, if you survive, if you're still standing after the storm spits you out, you'll find that you are the storm. You are the wildfire. You are the earthquake. You are the very chaos that tried to destroy you. But most people, they don't get that far, do they? They tap out when the heat gets turned up. They whimper for mercy when the pressure starts to crush their ribs. They run back to their safe little cages, their small little lives, whispering that it's better to be comfortable than courageous. Better to be numb than to bleed. Better to be quiet than to roar, and they die with their song still trapped inside their throats. Their dreams still buried under the rubble of fear. But you're different, aren't you? You wouldn't still be here if you weren't. You wouldn't still be listening to the sound of your own heart pounding in your chest like war drums if you weren't made for more, if you weren't carved out of something tougher than the lies they threw at you, tougher than the betrayals they thought would break you, tougher than the loneliness that tried to hollow you out like an abandoned house in a ghost town. They don't tell you that before you touch greatness, you have to walk through hell. They don't tell you that before you wear the crown, you have to carry the cross. They don't tell you that before you hold the blessing in your hands, you have to be willing to lose everything you thought you needed. Every illusion, every comfort, every false friend, every easy way out, and you have to walk naked and bleeding into the unknown with nothing but your fists clenched and your eyes burning with the kind of fire they can't put out. And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. Maybe the blessing isn't the house, the car, the fame, the applause. Maybe the real blessing is becoming the kind of person who doesn't need any of it to know they're already victorious. Maybe the real prize is the scars on your soul that say you fought and you survived and you didn't sell yourself cheap just because the night was long and the road was cruel and the world told you to quit over and over and over again. They say patience is a virtue, but they never tell you about the monsters that whisper in your ear while you wait, about the doubts that crawl under your skin like ants, about the way your own mind turns against you in the dead of night, painting pictures of failure with trembling hands and calling it realism. You sit there holding on to promises that seem to rot in your hands the longer you cling to them, smiling through gritted teeth, telling yourself it's all part of the plan, that good things come to those who wait, but sometimes it feels like waiting is just a slower kind of dying. The clock ticks louder when you're desperate, doesn't it? Every second dragging nails across the chalkboard of your soul. Every hour a weight pressing harder on your chest until it feels like breathing is just another battle you didn't sign up for. And yet you stay, you sit, you endure, because some twisted little voice in your head keeps whispering that maybe, just maybe, if you hang on one more day, one more hour, one more breath, the ground will stop trembling beneath your feet and the storm will finally blow itself out. But oh, they don't prepare you for the kind of loneliness that settles in your bones while you wait, the kind that makes the silence sound like screaming, the kind that makes you question if you're even still alive or just a ghost, haunting the ruins of a dream that everyone else abandoned a long time ago. And every time you try to speak your fears, they shove tired cliches down your throat like medicine that tastes like poison, telling you to stay positive, stay strong, stay faithful, as if the world isn't already chewing you up and spitting you out day after day. And it's funny, isn't it, how the ones who tell you to trust the timing are the ones who have never watched their dreams rot from the inside out, never felt the creeping sickness of despair wrapping cold fingers around their heart, never had to stand in the ruins of all they built, all they prayed for, all they bled for, and smile like it doesn't tear them apart inside. They sit pretty in their towers of certainty while you drown in a sea of maybe and someday and not yet. And they call it fate. They call it growth. They call it divine timing, while you call it torture. But what if, just what if, the waiting wasn't punishment, wasn't some sick cosmic joke, wasn't some cruel trick played by the universe to watch you squirm? What if the waiting was sharpening you like a blade, stripping away the weaknesses you didn't even know you had, beating the fear out of you one brutal moment at a time until only the strongest parts of you remained? What if every second of delay was forging a version of you that couldn't be broken, couldn't be bribed, couldn't be destroyed, no matter how hard the world tried? Maybe the real magic happens when you stop counting the days and start counting the ways you've survived. When you stop measuring your worth by how fast you get there and start measuring it by how ferociously you refuse to quit. When you realize that every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every shattered plan was secretly training you to handle the blessing that's coming. The one so heavy, so wild, so explosive that the you from yesterday wouldn't have been able to carry it without collapsing. And maybe that's why the delay feels so brutal, because the blessing isn't just a gift, it's a weapon. It's a throne, it's a fire, and only those who have been through the furnace can wield it without burning themselves alive. Only those who have stared down the barrel of disappointment and laughed can rule the kingdom without being ruled by their own fear. Only those who have tasted rock bottom and decided to climb anyway can stand on the mountain and not be blown away by the winds of success. You see, patience isn't waiting with a smile on your face and hope in your heart. Patience is gritting your teeth through the blood and the betrayal and the boredom and still dragging yourself forward inch by inch when everything inside you is begging you to give up. Patience is looking around at the ashes of your expectations and still building castles out of rubble because you refuse to believe that the story ends here. Patience is being willing to be mocked, to be misunderstood, to be forgotten, and still daring to believe that something bigger is being stitched together in the darkness behind your back. Most people don't make it. They crack under the pressure. They settle for the half-life, the almost dream, the watered-down version of what they really wanted, because real patience is too damn brutal, too damn lonely, too damn painful, but not you, not the ones who were born for more. Not the ones who know in their bones that destiny doesn't come easy and crowns aren't handed out to cowards in the middle of a battlefield. They're wrestled from the jaws of defeat by the ones crazy enough to believe they still deserve to win, even when everything says otherwise. Ah, fear, the oldest trick in the dusty book of human emotions, the shadow that dances just out of sight, the whisper in the dark that turns men into monsters and kings into cowards. It's funny how something so invisible can chain you tighter than iron, how a flicker of doubt can grow into a roaring fire that burns down everything you thought you were. Every time you dare to step out, it slithers up your spine, hissing all the reasons you should stay small, stay quiet, stay hidden. And you listen. Oh, how you listen. Like a child clinging to fairy tales because reality is just too sharp to hold. Fear is a magician. A master illusionist. It paints horror stories on the walls of your mind and sells them to you as truth. It takes your dreams, twists them into nightmares, and then laughs as you run from the very things you prayed for. You think you're protecting yourself, playing it safe, being smart, but really, You're just kneeling at the altar of a God who demands everything and gives nothing in return. And the sick joke is, most of the time, the thing you fear isn't even real. It's smoke and mirrors, shadows and echoes, a ghost you made yourself but still scream from when it rattles its chains. They'll tell you fear keeps you alive, that it's a survival instinct, and maybe that was true once, when the world was teeth and claws, and every shadow could kill you. But now fear is a drug, a leash, a disease. It keeps you alive, but it keeps you small. It keeps you breathing, but it keeps you from living. It wraps itself around your throat and calls itself your protector, while it slowly squeezes the life out of you. It convinces you to betray yourself before the world even gets a chance to hurt you. Most people don't even notice. The moment they traded in their dreams for safety, it happens quietly, in the small compromises, the little lies, the tiny betrayals, telling yourself you didn't really want it that badly, convincing yourself that settling is maturity, that quitting is wisdom. They teach you to make fear your advisor, your friend, your king, and before you know it, you're living a life built entirely out of the things you were too scared to do. And fear, oh, fear is patient. It will wait for you in the places you feel strongest. It will dress itself in logic, in reason, in love. It will wear the faces of people you trust. It will whisper through the lips of those who tell you they're only worried about you. It will hide in your dreams, in your prayers, in the very voice you think is God's, if you let it. And it doesn't need to kill you to win. It just needs to make you hesitate, to stall you, to plant enough doubt that you spend your life circling the runway but never taking off. But what they don't tell you, what the stories always leave out, is that fear can't survive a direct hit. It feeds on avoidance, on shadows, on maybe later and what if. But the moment you turn and look it in the eye, the moment you call its bluff, it crumbles, it shatters, it shrinks. It gasps and whimpers and tries to claw its way back into your head. But it's too late, because now you see it for what it really is, a paper tiger. A puppet made of your own regret, a nightmare that evaporates in the daylight. And if you could feel how it feels to crush fear under your boot once, just once, you'd never bow to it again. You'd never build your life around its threats and its lies. You'd burn down every safe little box you ever let it trap you in, and you'd dance in the ashes, laughing like a lunatic, because now you know, now you understand that fear isn't a warning sign, it's a compass. It's pointing you straight at the thing you're supposed to fight for, straight at the battlefield where the real treasure is buried. But that fight, that moment, it isn't polite, it isn't clean, it isn't some elegant revelation where the clouds part and angels sing. No, it's messy and ugly and bloody. It's screaming into the void and kicking against invisible walls and clawing your way out of the quicksand with broken nails and bruised ribs and a mouthful of dirt. It's getting back up when everything inside you is begging you to stay down. It's reaching out for the thing that terrifies you most and grabbing it with both hands, daring it to destroy you. Because deep down you already know, don't you? You always knew that the real danger was never outside. It was never the dream, never the leap, never the risk. The real danger was staying stuck, staying small, staying hidden, letting fear rule you until you become a ghost in your own life, haunting the places you were too afraid to enter, mourning the battles you never fought because you let a whisper convince you you couldn't win. And once you realize that, once you taste even a drop of that raw, savage freedom, there's no going back. You'll chase that feeling to the ends of the earth. You'll rip through every cage they ever built around you. You'll look fear dead in the eye and grin with blood-stained teeth because now you know the truth. And the truth is this: fear was never your master, it was your test. And you were always the weapon, you were always the fire, you were always the storm waiting to be unleashed. The crowd, they love a good victim story, don't they? They eat it up like candy, sweet and sticky, gets stuck between their teeth, makes them feel good about their own mess, makes them feel better about being cowards, because if you're a victim, you don't gotta change, you don't gotta fight, you just gotta cry pretty and wait for someone else to fix it all for you. That's the real game. Play the part of the wounded bird long enough, and maybe someone with clean hands and heavy pockets will swoop in and save the day. But guess what, sugar? Nobody's coming. No knights, no heroes, no white horses. Just the cold, hard fact that you're standing alone in the middle of a battlefield you didn't ask for, and nobody's handing you a weapon. You can stay there, sure, curled up in the mud, moaning about how unfair it is, how life kicked you when you were already down. You can turn your hurt into a throne and sit on it like a tragic little king, ruling over a kingdom of ashes, hoping the world sends you flowers and pity cards. Or you can drag yourself up, broken teeth and bloody hands and all, and decide right there in the wreckage that you are not going to be their sob story, not going to be your cautionary tale whispered over drinks at parties you'll never be invited to, not going to let them hang your picture on the wall with a tag that says, almost. Because see, the ones who win, the ones who actually carve their names into the walls of history, they don't wait for a rescue. They don't write sad songs and cry into their soup. They look at the world burning around them. They laugh, they light a cigarette off the flames, and they start walking. Because they know something the sobbers don't. Nobody feels sorry for a winner, and nobody can touch you once you stop begging for their approval. They're gonna call you heartless, oh yeah. When you stop playing their little sympathy games, when you stop dressing your wounds up like jewelry for them to admire, they're gonna say you're cold, you're crazy, you're cruel. Because nothing terrifies weak people more than someone who doesn't need their pity. Someone who refuses to stay small just to make others comfortable. Someone who drags their broken, bloody body across the finish line and doesn't even bother to ask for applause. You don't owe them your weakness. You don't owe them your vulnerability, packaged up pretty with a bow so they can pretend they care. You owe them nothing but the sight of you standing taller than they ever thought you could, laughing in the face of the storm they prayed would drown you. You owe them the discomfort of watching you become the thing they said you'd never be, the thing they hoped you'd be too scared, too tired, too broken to ever chase. You don't got to explain yourself to people who only love you when you're losing. You don't gotta soften your edges for people who sharpen knives behind your back. You don't gotta wear your scars like a leash, begging for scraps of kindness from hands that helped wound you in the first place. You don't gotta play the victim. just because it makes other people feel bigger, braver, more important than they are. Let them talk. Let them lie. Let them build whole little worlds where you're the villain because they're too scared to face the mirror. Let them throw stones from the safety of their glass houses. It doesn't matter. It's all noise. It's all background music to the real show. The one where you rise so high their words can't even reach you anymore. The one where you outgrow their games, their judgments, their pity, like a snake shedding its old, useless skin. Every time you get up when they thought you'd stay down, every time you smile when they expected you to break, every time you move forward when they swore you'd be stuck forever, you kill the little story they tried to write for you, you shatter the tiny box they tried to stuff you into, and you remind them of something they're desperate to forget, that they could have gotten up to. That they had the choice to, that the only real difference between a victim and a victor is who's still standing when the dust clears. So go ahead, wear your scars like armor. Let the pain fuel the fire behind your eyes. Let the memory of every betrayal, every cheap shot, every dirty trick sharpen you into something too sharp to hold and too dangerous to ignore. Become the storm they warned each other about, the proof that surviving isn't enough, that thriving is the real revenge, and never, ever apologize for it. Because the moment you do, the moment you start dimming your light to soothe their fragile ego, you slip right back into the role they picked out for you. And you were never made for that script. You were made to rip it to shreds and write your own in blood and fire and a laugh that rattles the stars. They thought you'd crumbled and they thought you'd fold up neat and small like a cheap chair when the pressure started to rattle your bones. They watched, popcorn in hand, waiting for the grand collapse. Because that's what people do, isn't it? They place their bets on your downfall. They sip their drinks and whisper behind their hands, writing your obituary in pencil so they can erase and rewrite it every time you keep breathing when they wish you wouldn't. Funny thing about expectations, though, the ones they have for you say more about them than they ever will about you. See, they want you to lose because your winning makes them uncomfortable. It shines a big, ugly light on the parts of themselves they try to keep hidden, the dreams they buried, the risks they never took, the courage they traded in for a steady paycheck and a mortgage and a life small enough to fit inside the lines someone else drew for them. Your fight, your fire, your refusal to lay down and die threatens their entire sense of reality. And scared people don't just sit quietly with it. No. They lash out, they mock, they try to turn your battle into a joke so they don't have to feel that sick little twist in their guts when they realize you're braver than they ever were. They'll call you reckless when you don't play it safe. They'll call you crazy when you won't bow to the way it's always been done. They'll call you selfish for choosing your own path over the one they paved with their own broken dreams. But deep down, buried under all that noise, there's a tiny voice they can't silence. A voice that says, maybe, just maybe, you're doing what they were too afraid to even try. And nothing eats away at a person faster than the slow realization that they could have been more if they hadn't sold themselves short. The ones who sneer the loudest, the ones who make it their mission to tear you down, they're the ones who see the most of themselves in you, the raw, unfiltered version of themselves they buried under years of playing it safe, being good, following the rules, the part that still aches to run, to scream, to tear the whole damn system apart and build something real from the rubble. But they made their choice, and you didn't. And that burns. It burns hotter than any failure ever could.